I ended up talking to several popular drag race girls about why it is important for you to say Black Lives Matter and why we don't have time for you to evolve. I'm just not political is so over. The time has passed. We need to hear your voices now. While you find your voice, Black people are being killed every day. Every day. Trans people are being murdered back to back. It doesn't have to be poetry.
How you feel being scared about saying Black Lives Matter or being afraid to use your voice in a way that's political because it goes against the brand, what it does is highlight that you can thrive and live and make money and you never have to talk about
That's
people
white
being
privilege.
killed.
Yep.
That is the definition of whatever kind of privilege you want to talk about. For white people, it's white privilege. It's privilege. It is privilege to be able to exist in a world. Somebody's being shot right now, statistically.
Exactly.
And you can just say, how do I look? Buy my new lipstick.
Me and Pep were talking about silence. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the phrase silence is violence. It basically refers to, like, after there comes a point where you being quiet and not saying anything, you are now siding with the oppressor.
Part of the thinking for me is that if you're not talking about this publicly and acknowledging it publicly, then you are you might think you're just going about your life and just having your day, but really what you are doing is contributing to the other tens, hundreds, thousands of other white people in this country who have historically ignored and turned a blind eye when there was an injustice against a person of color. And what that does is it says to the system, the perpetrator, the people doing it, it says to the system, because racism is a system. Racism is a system. It says that you are willing to participate in this system without rocking the boat. And the one thing that the system of racism does not want, the system of racism does not care if black people are outside marching in the streets. The system of racism doesn't care. The system of racism desperately needs the white people to not say anything when black people get killed. That's what the system of racism wants. And if you are a white person in this country and you are silent when a black person gets killed and you will not stand up and rock the boat, you don't need to be in the KKK. All you need to do is be quiet and let racism do its thing. I want to talk about another thing, and this just goes deeper into it. Mm-hmm. But I posted online.
I'm already pulling it up. Keep going. So Pep tweeted out, I follow lots of queer artists. It bothers me the lack of public acknowledgement about what's going on here and right now. Everyone isn't an activist, but even as artists, if you aren't reacting to your surroundings and reflecting back, what are you doing and what do you want out of it? Well, also in true Pep fashion, what you said was so much nicer. You know what I wrote? What I wrote was, I'm just not political is so over. The time has passed. We need to hear your voices now. While you find your voice, black people are being killed every day. Every day. Trans people are being murdered back to back. It doesn't have to be poetry. Just say it. Black Lives Matter. And so then I ended up talking to several popular drag race girls about why it is important for you to say Black Lives Matter and why we don't have time for you to evolve and find your voice and write a poem and do a photo shoot and make it glamorous and yada, yada, yada. I'm like, bitch, just say it. And in my opinion, this is why you need to say it. And I told one of these girls, like, I'm so sick of getting canceled. And I said, you're not canceled. You know who's canceled? George Floyd is canceled. He is canceled. That's canceled. And he's never uncanceled. That's what canceled is.
Obvious and self-admitted ignorance and complacency. We cannot, it's human to not be aware, and that's okay. You can educate yourself. It's human to be afraid of what the reaction's going to be. I cannot tell you how many times I've watched similar situations and some of those same people instantly engage when it comes to other issues that do affect them. And all I'm saying is, I am not a gay man and I'm not a gay woman, but I marched for marriage equality. I devoted 10 years of my public life as a drag entertainer and my platform, my small platform in drag, to AIDS and HIV education and prevention and vaccine with the Vaccine Trials Network. And I do not happen to be HIV positive. When black trans women are murdered, I talk about it. All I'm asking is, can you help us?
One of the white folks that I was talking to, prominent white people who were not tweeting about Black Lives Matter or not engaging in this discourse because they didn't feel like they just didn't want to. I said, let me tell you this. We all notice that you're not tweeting. All of your black friends, all of your brown friends, all notice that you're not engaged. And we know that you picked up your phone, you saw a video of George Floyd being murdered. You went, ooh, yikes. Put your phone down, and then you turned the TV back on and kept playing a video game, or you finished Big Little Lies or whatever you did. That's like looking out your window, seeing a murder, and being like, "Not for me." Close the door and just keep doing your thing.
No, it's not. No, it's not. That's too, like, if my cousin did that, that's what that is. If the little neighbor down the street did that, that's looking out the window and closing your blind. What this is you being on stage during an award ceremony and walking across the stage, getting ready to make a speech, and someone gets killed in the room and you not acknowledging it. Because we are looking at you.
And I kept telling all my white drag queen friends who are doing this, I'm like, what you're doing, if you're a white drag queen from RuPaul's Drag Race, you are directly benefiting from the hard work of black, queer, and trans people who have done everything to let you be where you are. If you ever done a tongue pop, or you said reading is fundamental, or if you're on a show hosted by a black queer person, or if you've done any of that stuff, if you've lip synced to a black song, if you've done any of that stuff, what you're doing is you get to directly benefit from all the stuff that black culture has, but you don't want to contribute back. You don't want to say anything. You don't even want to do the bare minimum and stand up and say, hey, I just want to say out loud that Black Lives Matter.
For anybody that doesn't know, the AIDS epidemic was major in the 80s. It's still obviously a huge problem, but it was much more deadly then, and people were dying left and right. And it was never really spoken about publicly. They didn't talk about it on the news, and our president, for I think 2 or 3 years, didn't even mention it. At a press conference, a reporter said, there's this disease out there that's killing a bunch of gay men. What do you think about it? And the press secretary at the time, I don't remember his name, was like, oh, well, I don't got it. So, and laughed and moved on to the next thing. I don't know anything about it. And just shrugged it off. Even though you feel like you're just not talking about it and you only want to talk about this fun thing over here, even you deciding to not acknowledge it says something.
When you are Katya and you have access to over 1 million little white girls who live in homes with Karens who would call the cops on black people for existing, whose father might be a cop who would kneel on the neck of a black man. When Katya types Black Lives Matter in her Twitter, then because this little girl, because Susie loves Katya, now Black Lives Matter to Susie. So now what we have is a Black Lives Matter person in the house of a person who would go out and call the cops on black people because they're on the street, who would kneel on the neck of a black person there. So yeah, you tweeting is powerful. You know what? People are saying like Twitter doesn't have a lot of power. It does. Twitter got Trump elected. Twitter also got 4 cops who are kneeling on that man fired, and it's probably going to get them arrested as well. So Twitter does have power. So when you stand up and you say to your fans Black Lives Matter, they believe Black Lives Matter, and now the Black Lives Matter is moving to a place where it needs to be. Now they're saying it to the people who would actually go out and be egregious and have a negative effect or a deathly effect on the effects of black people in America. And that is why you need to say Black Lives Matter. That's why. It takes nothing out of your day. It takes no time to type it up. If you have an Android, you can use swipe it in 3 seconds. It's posted on your fucking, and it doesn't take anything from you at all. It takes nothing from you. I'm gonna say this: if you're a queer person and you directly benefit from the Stonewall riots, you get to go out in the streets, you get to hold your partner's hand in public, you get to say you're loud and proud and be gay, and you get to every day, oh my God, 51 years since the Stonewall riots, yay! Yay, the riots helped us. But then you get to turn around and condemn this riot because you don't think it directly benefits you, which the truth is, this may shock you, but black rights are human rights. This does affect you on a multitudinous amount of levels. Even if it's indirect, Mary, it does affect you. So if you're going to celebrate the Stonewall riots and then condemn these riots, I think you need to take a step back and ask yourself why you look at it that way.